So I am really happy to be with three of the greatest legends of the real estate residential industry. I know Gene from Coldwell Banker days, and of course I know Sandra and Alexis from Star Power, and these are three of the most amazing people I know, and I'm so happy that we're all together in the same place.
Yes.
And that we can talk about life and this thing we call real estate.
My favorite memory, meeting Alexis Bolin, Jean Shine, Barbara Brady, and Sandra Nickel. I went to my first CRS celebration conference, and I didn't know a soul there. I was from small town Nebraska, and I showed up there, didn't know anybody, and I walked over to this table that was taken with those four awesome ladies, and I asked if I could join them. I had no idea what great people they were, and they were so welcoming, and I didn't know what superstars they were. I just loved meeting those people, and they made a big, huge impact on my life.
Awesome. So if you wouldn't mind, we'll start with Alexis. Just tell us, where you work and a little bit about your business.
So I'm in Pensacola, Florida, which is in the Florida Panhandle. We're closer to Mobile, Alabama than we are to Disney. I've been selling in that market for 47 years. I was a waitress before real estate. I don't have a big team right now. It's just my daughter and myself. But at one point in time, I did have my husband, a non-licensed admin, and my daughter. Closed about 7,000 units in our area, and had a broker's license since 1980, and still hanging out selling real estate.
And she is if you don't know Alexis, she's the queen of scripts. Yes, nobody can deliver a line like my friend Alexis.
And I'd like to give the very first relaunch Star Power Impact Award to Alexis Bolin. I'm not going to let her talk.
So when the first tapes of Star Power came out, they were actually on cassettes, if we remember. And I listened to Alexis Bolin, and I was so overwhelmed by how great it was. I actually pulled the car over. I couldn't write notes fast enough. Her scripts and dialogues, her way to approaching business, it changed my life forever. And I remember walking up to her at a Star Power conference, and it was just like stars in my eyes, because she was just my idol. And to this day, she's greatly affected my life. I've learned so much, and she's just a superstar.
She's known as the queen of scripts and dialogues, but she's also, what we don't really give her contributions for is how she has the ability to listen to people.
Yeah.
And that was big for me. And I would bring little issues or problems that I'm having in my business, and she would turn that into something so easy and so real, and she taught me that skill. It's not about having a prepared script or dialogue. It's about who you are and who you've become and how you can get better in the business.
Sandra Nickel, Montgomery, Alabama, small town, deep south. I have been in the real estate business since 1981. I run a very small team. I have 4 agents and myself, and our specialty is older and historic homes. Our pride is we feel like we have made a tremendous difference in the quality of life in Midtown Montgomery.
And I know you have.
I've known this person for a long time. They constantly give. They're there for anybody that needs help. They're always learning and strictly involved in their community, care about people, a very high level of involvement. And it's my pleasure to ask Miss Sandra Nickel.
The hat lady. So my first impression of her was brilliant marketer, right? She just understood the concept of branding. But over the years, through CRS and getting to know her through that organization, her commitment to always learning is something that I've really adopted. She sits in the front row. I've seen her in so many classes this is a woman that's a legend of real estate. I mean, she's an encyclopedia of real estate, but she's always in the front row. She never is not learning.
Sandra was one of the first people that I met in real estate who was a known name, who was embracing people that were different from what NAR would normally look at.
Her whole career has been about embracing diversity in a time like today when diversity may not be appreciated.
Exactly.
And last but not least, Jean Shine.
Well, I'm Jean Shine. I'm from Central Texas, right in the heart of Texas. The population of my town is 37,000 in Harker Heights, Texas, but we serve about 8 different towns, little towns around. And we're right back next to Fort Hood, a big Army post, so it gives me a lot of opportunities and blessings to work with those families. I have a team, a larger team than theirs. I have about 2 buyer agents, about 5 buyer agents, about 2 listing partners. And since my career started about the same time Alexis did, I've done about, we didn't even count the first 20 years, or we really didn't, but we're thinking around 17,000, 18,000, something like that.
It's pretty amazing.
Our recipient this year not only has poured into this industry for decades, she has also been a pillar in her community and specifically has adopted the military market and has done incredible things for the people in her area. I'd like to call to the stage at this time Jean Shine
I'm here with my friend Joella Nash. We've been friends forever. And I understand that Jean Shine's one of your best friends.
She is. She's near and dear to my heart. I love her so much, and we've been friends for decades. She's a true leader. She knows how to delegate. You don't become number one in the world for Coldwell Banker when you do it all yourself.
Yeah,
she masters the
she sets the vision really well, and then she's like the Energizer Bunny.
Right.
I wish I had her energy.
She's so down to earth, and she's so loving, and she has time for her wreath to vets. She's been doing that for decades too. She's known for that. And I don't know how she does it all, but it's by being a leader and delegating that she can accomplish all of that, I think.
So Jean Shine, and not a lot of people know this, she was the civilian aide to the Army for Fort Hood and Killeen, Texas. That is a very impressive job. There's only about 100 of them in the entire country. And it is basically the liaison between the community and the military post. And I know because I have a good friend we're at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and so I have a good friend who's the civilian aide, they call it a CASA, there. And just in talking with Jean about what she does for the soldiers at Fort Hood over the years, we've incorporated a little bit of that at Fort Sill just because of the wonderful ideas. Things like from taking wreaths and putting them through the cemeteries at all the appropriate times of the year to, it's funny, I run into a lot of commanding generals that come into Fort Sill and some of the chiefs of staff. They all know Jean. I mean, they've all been to Fort Hood, so they all know Jean and just rave about her. They just rave about her, and it's just really cool to see. And it's like, hey, we know her. Yeah, she's our friend too. And it's just awesome to see what she does.
She's a
for
great
the troops.
human being.
She is. I mean, and she gives so much for herself and so much for her team, and what they do for the soldiers is just really amazing.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
So Jean Shine actually came to visit us in Vermont, and my grandson, who was about 3 at the time, was riding around in the golf cart with her. And then when she left, he's like, my Jean Shine, where's my Jean Shine? So it was his Jean Shine, Griffin's Jean Shine. So the 3 ladies are absolutely the star legends of Star Power.
Obviously, you've connected with them on both a personal level and a business level. What traits would you say they all share in common that makes you want to be dear friends with them?
They're all giving, smart, women who are sharp businesswomen, who always take into consideration the person that they're with and the people they work with, and they run their businesses so impeccably that they look at how their clients are doing and where their goals are and then blend it together perfectly so that everyone wins in the end.
Well, I could say the same about you, Nancy. So let's start with there. Let's start with that question. What does success mean to you? Because success means something different, I think, to each of you. And that can be about real estate, that can be about life in general. How would you define success, Alexis?
Well, I think, as you said, Patrick, everybody has to determine what their success is. You know, for some people, it's just getting through the day. So me, you know, to me, success is being able to do what you want to do, having a job that is not a job, that you're doing something that you enjoy and you're fulfilled because you're helping other people. Success is not, to me, all about the awards. Just like Sandra and Jean, you know, I've got them all. You name it, I've got one. And being #1 internationally for ERA real estate years ago, people are like, wow, you're really successful. No, I'm successful when I get up every day and I can do something to make a difference in somebody else's life. And to me, that's what it's all about. Whether it be the clients that I have, whether it be my real estate friends like you guys, whether it just be helping the neighbor next door or something like that, making a difference.
Listen, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Sandra?
Well, and she said it in the best choice of words, and that is making a difference. For me, success is doing something that really has made a difference in our community and helping people to appreciate the quality of life in older neighborhoods, older houses, well-integrated neighborhoods.
Awesome. And Jean?
Well, you can see we're all friends and we're cut from the same cloth, so we think very much alike. Success is two things with me. I try to separate my business and personal a little bit to make sure I'm successful in both avenues, but make an impact on others' lives in my business and community is huge to me. Relationships, you know, it's really not about business, it's more about relationships and doing for others. And if I can be successful in those avenues, I'm happy. And then my family and my friends are very, very important to me. So always cutting that time out to make a difference in their lives and to connect with them and always be there for them. And I think sometimes we have to balance those two things in our industry, and it becomes difficult sometimes, but our goal is always to make a difference in everyone's lives, both personal and business, and make sure we fit that in the day.
So Jean, that lesson that you just spoke of is saying that it's all about the relationships rather than the transaction. I didn't really learn that lesson until I was probably 40 or so. So, you know, the first 20 years I was transactional in terms of my business. And then I realized you could still make good money and enjoy what you're doing a lot more. Was your relationships always relationship based from the beginning?
Always relationships based. I didn't even want to be a realtor, and I just wanted to connect and make a difference in their lives. And I started out with friends, and it's always been that way. In fact, I never counted until the year I was #1 with Coldwell Banker internationally. I had never counted my transactions. My broker didn't either. I don't know why, but I just did one transaction as well as I could, 100% giving to that family and doing that and then multiplying at times, one at a time.
I have a funny story about Jean. We were both invited out to a previews event, which was Coldwell Banker's high-end thing in Los Angeles. and we were going to like $100 million home to put it on, and I was wearing sandals and just a casual outfit. She made me go change my shoes. She wasn't going to let me onto that van if I had sandals on, which I still remember.
It was
too.
the most expensive house in America for sale.
Yeah, it was
and
at that
it was
time.
well over $100 million.
Yeah.
And only 5 realtors in the nation were invited.
Yeah,
And I said, don't take me, take the
Wow.
big city people and Hawaii and New York and all this. But they said no, they wanted me to experience it. So it was
that was a fun day.
was.
Sandra, what have you learned in real estate through your very long and successful career that maybe other people don't know?
Well, I think probably the realization that it has enabled me to survive all through the years is that while the decision to move often is made joyfully, people in the middle of the process end up not at their best. And they, as a result, often behave in ways that are not real attractive. I like to say that people just, they're a little crazy when their nest is disturbed.
Mm.
As a young realtor, I took it personally when clients got so wound up that they were even sometimes almost abusive, unkind, certainly unkind. And one day it dawned on me it didn't have a damn thing to do with me.
Yeah.
It was all about the stress that they were experiencing during the process of moving, even if it was to their dream home, transferring to a new dream job. Nonetheless, when somebody's nest is disturbed, they're not at their best, and they need you to be at yours.
I would say that's an example of which all three of you do very, very well, but it's an example of how you let your light shine on others so that they can move to wherever they need to move. And I'm talking in their mind. I'm not talking about physically move. You're really, really good at that. And a story I want to share about Sandra is, in my personal opinion, Sandra has the greatest integrity of and just about anybody I know.
Definitely.
And when I'm having a moral issue that I can't work my way through, I call you up and I ask for your opinion. And it's always like quick and right to the point. And this is why you should or should not do that. And I really appreciate that. So thank you. It's nice to have that sort of, that's one of the nice things about, we're at the Star Power Convention. It's one of the nice things about having these friendships that we have, because then you can seek out those that really have the right advice for you at a specific time in your life. Alexis, you are a powerhouse. I think there's no other way of saying it. When you're on stage, you're the center of attention. There's no doubt about it.
It's because I've got the microphone and they're in the other. We all get to do that.
Yeah, but there's something special about how quickly your mind thinks, and that you've developed a retinue of what we call scripts in the business, but they never sound like a script to me, because I feel like you're just talking to the person and you're not saying some determined words.
That's right.
So what do you tell me your take on that?
Well, no, I'm just having a conversation with people. I'm there to listen, to see what their needs are, to see if I can help them figure out how to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. And so, God's been good, because there's been a lot of times I'm sitting across from the buyer seller and I really want to say something that'll knock their socks off, but I'm like, okay, God, I need a few words here. And, but I can think quickly, but I think that comes from, maybe all those years of waiting tables when you had to remember a order from 6 people without writing it down in the restaurants I worked in. couldn't go to the table and say who got the roast beef. That didn't work. And so I think if you listen, then you're able to respond. And that's just been something I can do. If you can't do that, then yes, you need to memorize things so that you have something in your head. So when a situation happens, you can pull it out. And
But
so,
pull it out in your own words, not somebody else's scripted words. So like,
correct.
you know how in life, and Rob will admit that I tell the same stories over and over and over about the past, and he does too. But they're in our mind. So all you have to have is little stories about different situations that your clients deal with, right?
Well, yeah, and you also have to be able to read the people. The way I would answer something to you and to people in the industry is entirely different than the way I would answer something with a buyer and seller. And so, you know, years ago I took a Dale Carnegie course back in 1980, and at any rate, one of the things I still remember from that class is this phrase: when I can see through the client's eyes, I can help the client buy what the client buys. So in order,
I like that.
in order to interact and properly assess the situation, you've got to be able to do that. There is a different answer for a similar objection depending upon who you're talking with and what their personal situation is. And so, you know, you have to be able to do that. People are afraid of scripts and dialogues. I don't know why. I wish we had a different name for it.
Yeah, I think
that's
that's
it.
that's part of the title,
Yes.
is part of the problem.
Correct.
Yes, right.
Wish we
there.
had a different name for it, because, you know, we grow up having had to learn scripts and dialogues our entire life. So everybody had to, when they were in school, you know, you had to learn your ABCs, you had to learn multiplication. I mean, think about it. That's kind of a script or a dialogue you go by. My goodness, you know, how many of us had to memorize the Lord's Prayer, the Pledge of Allegiance,
Yeah.
the school alma mater, you know? And so if somebody says, you know, sing, for example, all right, I'll use football games or baseball games. They get different artists to sing the national anthem. Every time somebody sings it, it's different. But the words are the same. So it's in the delivery, depending upon the audience. It's not necessarily the exact words.
Yeah, I think that's well said.
Yeah.
We know the exact words to the national anthem. And so it's going to sound very, very different if Pavarotti's going to sing it.
Or
then-
if I sang it.
then-
I'm
well,
gonna-
it'd be
I'm
pretty
gonna
bad
use
if we sang it.
I'm going to use that, or I'm
All
going to
right.
have you come talk to my team. That example with God Bless America or the
Yeah,
Pledge of Allegiance or
any of
anything,
it.
every one of
Any
them.
of it.
That
I
is
mean-
a wonderful.
I mean, you just stop and think
they
about that.
terrifies everybody.
Yeah.
That the power in knowing the words is that then you can deliver
The message.
Correct.
exactly
Correct.
differently depending upon the circumstances.
So one of the things that we've all gone through in part of our training is it's how you say something. So if I took the sentence, all right, and I'll use our friend Buddy as an example. So he wanted to go to the Super Bowl in Jacksonville, and his son was getting married, and he had it all figured out. They get through the wedding on Saturday and all that good stuff, and then he'd get on the plane Sunday morning, and he'd fly in time to see the Super Bowl. So he goes to Betsy, and he goes, you know, tells her the deal. He's going to do that. And Betsy says, go ahead and have a good time. Now, go ahead and have a good time is giving permission, is it not?
Yeah.
Okay.
One would think.
The delivery
In
said
one
what?
way.
You go ahead.
You're in trouble.
You're a dead duck if you fly out of here. So I want you to think about it, what the words mean. And when you have words like that, the emphasis you put on each individual words gives it a different connotation. So if I say go ahead and have a good time, that's going to be different than I say go ahead and have a good time. Because go means okay, go. But go ahead means you go before me.
Agreed. And reading your audience is key. And I think in general, most real estate agents are pretty good at reading other people. Not all the time, but pretty good.
I think you give us too much credit.
I think in general they are. I want to switch topics a little. Jean, I'd say one of the things that you've done exceptionally well in your career is delegate. Do you want to talk to us about that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think this would be good advice for anyone in our industry that is a solo agent or just, starting a young team. It was terrifying to delegate. I was very successful by myself. And to be able to let someone else take your buyer or go to the listing, and they could never do it as well as we could, right? And it was very, very hard to do that. And probably my very first one, I couldn't let her do much, and she's amazing, and now owns multiple car dealerships and everything like that. But when she was with me, I couldn't let her go. But if you train them, I learned through Star Power, you train your team and you train them well, then you feel confident in giving them permission.
And you're empowering
them so
to be
much.
more than they were.
Oh, yes. And and you grow. And you grow when you do that. And it's amazing because you want them to take care of that family as well as you would take care of them. And it's just, and you multiply. You can multiply.
How did you get through your fear of hiring delegating?
I don't really, just slowly. And I think you can do it.
It was step by step. Okay.
Yeah, because I
So
wasn't
you set your intentions.
Yes. And I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to let go. And it literally came from training and getting someone that you totally had confidence in. And the first one I had totally had confidence in was Rodney. You've met Rodney, my nephew. Brilliant. And then Scott, my other son. So Rodney's an accountant. And Scott was at law school and didn't like it and brought him on. And then Stephen, my other son with a business degree, they're all probably smarter than I am, but don't tell them I said that. They're all smarter than I am.
We won't let them listen to this.
But no, don't let them listen to this. And having young minds that would actually listen. And of course, one of the first things I did was take them to Star Power. And what I was trying to teach them, I got it. And it's just been an amazing.
And the other great thing about you being able to delegate is allow you to do the things that you really love.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Sandra, why don't you talk to us about the importance, or it can be importance, of developing a niche, as in your niche is historical homes.
Yeah.
How that can advance your career.
Oh, goodness. Well, there's a running joke, and I imagine this ought to be told by Alexis, but I'm going to tell it. And that is,
Your story.
When you meet somebody in Florida and you want to make sure they're legitimate, you ask to see their real estate license. And well, how does that work? Well, most everybody in Florida has a real estate license.
Right.
Not everybody has a driver's license.
Yes. That's
So that's a long way around to. It's a whole lot easier to be a big fish in a small puddle than to try to be a significant fish in an ocean of realtors. And even in a market the size of Montgomery, we have, at last count, 1,750 practicing realtors. That's a lot of competition. There may be a dozen who do much with older homes of any stripe, and probably half a dozen of us who really know what we're doing with the historic and antique homes. You can imagine I have a whole lot less competition that way.
Yeah.
Do you ever work specifically, so you're getting a new listing coming on that maybe even before you launch it, you'll reach out to those 6 or 12 agents and say, listen, you're the one that's most likely going to sell this home if I don't.
Yeah. We just did that successfully with a house on Gilmer Avenue in Montgomery. And I believe it's Billy's listing. I believe Billy talked with all 6. Of course, 5 of them are right here in our team. 1 showed it before it went on the market, diddled around a bit. Billy showed it, sold it himself. House never went on the market, and that was not our intention. The family was still cleaning it out. It needed a little neutralizing, but we knew who the buyer would be, and Billy just happened to have a buyer he was working for that kind of home. So it's so much easier. Another niche that I work mostly remotely is investors.
Wow.
Awful lot of realtors don't want to work with investors. I love them. They are, for the most part, dispassionate.
Alexis, building on what Sandra just said, do you have any thoughts about dealing with knowing who the buyer is for a property and then reaching out to the other agents that may handle that type of buyer or property?
Absolutely, Patrick. When I go into a property and I'm talking with the seller about selling the property, the first thing I'm thinking of is who's going to buy this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's my audience? Is it a first-time home buyer? Are they retirees? Is it going to be a family with 4 kids? Have I got an executive property here where I've got double income, no kids? What have I got going on with this piece of property? And the most important thing about knowing that is you need to gear your marketing towards those people. So we're in a wonderful world today where we have AI. So I write my description and then I throw it into Chat GPT and I say, I have a piece of property here that's going to appeal to first-time home buyers or empty nesters or retirees. So please rewrite my description to focus on those people. And that works like a charm.
And it's so easy.
It is. Then I can go in and I can edit it again. And maybe if it's not quite right, then I can say, you need to be more specific about, the target is retirees. Be more specific about that. And so I think that's the other thing, that when you're on a listing appointment and the seller's interviewing people, what's going to cause you to stand out? Everybody's going to go do the same thing. I mean, let's face it, they've all got the same tools to work with. We got the MLS, we've got cell phones, we've got video, we've got Matterport, 200 million places you can stick it on the web. So what makes you different? Well, I asked the seller those questions. So if you were the seller, I'd say, Patrick, who do you think's the buyer for this house? One of the things we need to talk about is, who's the buyer? I know you're interested in my marketing, but who you think we ought to market to? And let's talk about what that marketing should look like for that individual.
And Jean, do you have any tips for something that would make any agent's life a little easier?
Yeah, training. I every day learn something new. Every day do something kind for someone else. Those 2 things will make your life a joy. But learning is the key to everything. Absorb, because that's one thing wonderful
You've
about
been a
real estate.
lifelong learner, Jean.
I am. And every day is, and you get the opportunity to share. Just think of it. Everything you learn about your community, you learn about any industry in your area, you get to share with your buyers and your sellers and your community. And you're helping them when you can share. And then when you learn about real estate, when you're with someone and you can speak from knowledge, the confidence they have, it makes them feel so much better in the decisions that they're making, that they know it's not haphazard, and that I do believe in learning as just the key to everything.
I think we all do. I think that's another commonality we all have. Sandra, do you have a tip for real estate agents?
I do. I think it's real important for us to remember that there's that whole world of people out there whom we consider prospects. But the prospects we probably need to work the hardest and invest the most time and energy in is our fellow agents.
Agreed.
If you are well respected and trusted by your fellow agents, you can talk openly. Of course, you're not going to betray any confidences that would create a problem for your client, but you can collaborate with the other realtors in your MLS, and it makes it so much easier to put sales together. If the agents are leery of you, if they really don't trust you, it's going to be hard as hell.
And in situations like bidding wars, it diminishes your ability. If they don't trust you, it diminishes your ability to actually win the
To
bidding.
do some good for my client, yes.
Yeah.
We owe it, in my opinion, to our clients to be talking with one another rather than texting and emailing and dropping stuff off in the middle of the night without a word. If I'm representing you, Patrick, as a seller, you have a reason that you have decided to sell, and you have priorities around what should happen to make you happy. If an agent comes to me with a buyer prospect and says to me, what does my buyer's offer need to look like to appeal to you? I can have that conversation.
Right.
And it makes the sale happen.
Yep. Yeah, it may be the defining factor of they talk about all the time about presenting a letter with your offer about why you're in love with the home. But this is getting actually to the core of that matter much more directly.
This is far better. And I will tell you, our market never gets super heated like some markets, but it got crazy enough that we would be getting half a dozen or more offers on a single property. And one of the factors with which we counsel the seller in deciding which offer to take or to work with was the reputation
Of the realtor.
and the experience level, the productivity level of the agent.
Correct.
And I think that your seller needs to know that.
Absolutely, because it makes a huge difference in whether or not things are going to go
Smoothly.
along nicely or terribly or not at all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
What Sandra said is extremely important, probably one of the most important things you're going to hear. How many agents out there take the time to write that thank you note to the other agent?
Mm.
I don't have a transaction that doesn't happen with. In fact, Sandra brings an offer on one of my listings. We negotiated, it's two-sided. The very next thing I do is grab a Panera Bread card or something for lunch, write her a note, say, I'm really thrilled about this. I'm looking forward to working with you to a successful closing, and I want you to know I appreciate you. Now, just that small gesture, do you think she's going to be ugly to work with during that transaction?
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
And so we're not taking the time to be personal. Don't text them and say, hey, thank you, you did a great job. Take time to write a personal note. You should be writing a minimum of 5 to 10 thank you notes a week to somebody for doing something for you. If you do that with the people you work with, your lenders, your title people, the termite guy, the realtors, then everything you do goes smoother because they will move mountains to take care of things for you because you touched them when nobody else did. So we have an obligation to our industry that we work together, not adversarial.
Amen.
The worst thing in the world is to get the realtor that wants to play king of the hill.
This is
and
cooperation,
butt heads.
not combat.
That's correct. And they want to butt heads with you. And, most of us who are successful in what we're doing, it's like, I've way past the time where I think I need to butt heads with somebody. I don't want to do that. I just want to work to get this transaction done so the buyer's happy, the seller's happy, and we can deliver what we've been hired to do.
So I'm going to switch things up a little. I'm going to ask you all the same question. We're going to start with Sandra. What is something that you haven't done well in your career, and how have you tried to alleviate that?
Well, I'm still working on it, Patrick. I have analysis paralysis. I have a tendency to take way too long to make critical decisions, to implement important changes, things like that. And I struggle with it till this day. Just having an awareness of it has helped me be not quite as struggling, but I think I'll probably take that to the grave.
It's fascinating to me because, like I mentioned earlier, when I'm having a moral dilemma and I call you, you don't struggle with the analysis at all. You're pretty responsive when it's me as opposed to yourself. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's somehow you could pretend that you're speaking to me as opposed to yourself when you're overanalyzing.
It's a good idea.
I don't know, it might
Thank
not.
you for the suggestion.
We'll see how that goes.
You bet. Thank you.
Jean, what's something that you haven't done well, and how have you dealt with it?
Probably just the opposite of Sandra on that one. I want to do everything, and I jump into things very quickly, and I'm not afraid to take chances. I don't always think about the financial situations, so sometimes I should do a better job with that. Years ago, I would go to CRS, I'd go to Star Power, I'd go to Coldwell Banker, I'd go to these different, and I just had a credit card in my hand. I bought every single program there was for sale, every single one of them. And then most of them I never opened up, and I would pay for years, and it's not a really smart thing to do. So, I like to try new things. I like to be creative. I like to watch other industries, the car dealerships, insurance, just different businesses. How do they market? How do they reach out to people and try to implement it, changing up? Sometimes real estate gets a little stale in their advertising and the way they do things. So I like to look for ways to do new things. And I'm just probably too quick to do some of that. I should probably
but I suspect as the years go on, you're probably less likely to do that now.
I do it, but I'm more deliberate on which ones I do, I guess. And my focus has gone down quite a bit. I don't go out and buy everything anymore. So everything is focused down. And so that is an easier thing to do. But and I don't know what it is, but I'm really pretty good at picking out things, and it usually successful. My boys will go, "Oh no!" And
I imagine when you came back from conferences, your whole team was like, "Oh, what does she have now?"
Yeah.
That happens to all of us. Alexis, what is something you do everything really well? So what is something that you don't do well, and how have you dealt with it throughout your career?
Well, I think for me, is working hard to keep up with technology. I'm never going to be the guru on that.
But here you're talking about ChatGPT. So
yes, what I'm saying though is you ask what you don't do well. I have to make that intentional to take the class, to work with it, to learn what I can about it, and to decide how much I really need to know. So, you can take what I do in ChatGPT, stick it on a pinhead compared to somebody who's 25 years old, for example. But I learn enough to do what I need to do. I would like to know more. And so I think that's the hardest thing, is keeping up as everything rolls down the pike, as all these changes come. I'm pretty quick to react, but then I have to take a step back and take time to go figure it out. And so I think if I struggle with anything, it's just really keeping up with the technology changes. And I've done pretty good.
You could argue that that going back to basics is really what the key to many people's success, including your own.
Exactly.
And that all of these new pretty flowers that we're seeing and little sparkly things can be great. But if you do the basics, you're probably going to hit a home run.
Yeah. Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I don't have to know how to do any of this stuff to sell real estate. I really don't. I mean, at this stage of the game, we're all, you included, we're all at that point with the number of transactions we've had and the number of people we've done business with that my clients could care less if I know anything about ChatGPT. But it's important to me.
Because you want to grow.
As an individual to keep growing, because you're either green and growing or you're brown and dying.
It's true.
And so
you're either growing or you're dying. It's true.
I don't want to be there. And so, the older I get, the more people tend to look at my age group as though we don't know anything. We're dying.
That's true.
I mean, I'm closer to 100 than I am to 50 nowadays. And so
you're over 75?
I'll be 81 in October.
Honey, you look good.
So I'm saying that I want to be relevant, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And so I have to work harder at being relevant than I do with scripts and dialogue.
Got it. That makes sense. So I want to ask each of you, what traits do you have that have made you successful? Let's start with you, Jean.
Well, I think I became successful fairly quickly because I knew everything about the community around, because I was always involved with the community, the church, the schools, everything, even when my kids weren't in school yet. And I could share all that knowledge with my clients. For example, I was one of the first important people or big client I ever had. I was new in the business and being compared against 4 seasoned agents. And he talked to all the other agents, and I had him, and I said, well, the town next to us, I'll just let you know because you're going there next. They kind of don't like us too much. They look down on our community a little bit, but just so you know that. And the first thing that happened is the agent walked out to the parking lot to meet me as I took him to interview her, and she said to them, oh, you don't want to live in Killeen with all the GIs. You want to live here with all of our doctors. He literally turned around and looked at me, and he was Ross Perot's company. It was Ross Perot's company, very patriotic. I never said another word. So I won his favor and got to represent the company. But one of the first things I did, he said to me, listen, because this is what I heard over here. Jean, I don't want to be in the industrial park. Your Chamber of Commerce is pushing me in the industrial park. I will go all the way to Austin, an hour away first. Well, I happen to know the president of our local junior college, which is across the street from Fort Hood, which is a long way from the industrial park, and he was going to be working on Fort Hood. I called the president. I said, don't y'all own that land right by that east gate? And he said, yeah. And I said, why don't you build a building for him and let him lease it to you for 10 years? I was a brand new realtor, knew nothing about real estate. I was not in the transaction at all, and put that deal together. But it was because I knew the players in town. I listened to what the buyer wanted, and successful in bringing the business to our community, helping with that. And then I got his 10 executives.
And from what I've noticed of you, you're highly intuitive, and that your intuition leads how you are in life. And I feel like that's the trait that allowed you to put all this together, because you were being highly intuitive about it. So
yes, sir.
Good. I think so. Good on you. Good on you. Sandra?
I think I was blessed by 2 parents, both of whom always implied, if not stated outright, that anything worth doing was worth doing well. And one did not take a job and not perform at one's best doing that job. That has enabled me through my many, 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 many years to have a lot of different jobs and 2 successful careers, because those were the expectations with which I was raised. And the other thing I think...
It also speaks to your integrity.
Well, and the other thing is fear of failure. Fear of failure. I cannot imagine anything worse than being in the public eye as a failure.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
How about you, Alexis?
I have a similar experience. You know, my mom was a single mom, and, you know, being the oldest, of course, more is expected than when you're the baby. And so my mother always said, I didn't give you an ordinary name, don't bring me any ordinary grades.
Oh.
And so the expectation was set that I was to work hard to do the best I could with whatever it was I was doing. I was taught that if you give them a day and a half's work for a day's pay, then they'll let you do whatever you want to. And my grandmother said, that's your goal in life. You want to be able to do whatever you want to do. So you make yourself indispensable to these people to where they really feel they need you. And I did that as a waitress. I've done it as a realtor, hopefully as a parent. Hopefully they need me. And I think that makes the difference, is that if I give them more than what they're giving me back, then that leads to the success. We don't determine our success by, oh, I got this degree, or I sold 10,000 houses, or whatever. Our success is determined by what we do, the way we treat people, and how people perceive us. You have no success whatsoever unless the public perceives you to be that way. So I'm in agreement 1,000% with Sandra and, you know, with what Jean said, and that is you have to have intuition, you have to read the people, and I don't want to be on the front pages of failure either. I want to be looked at as somebody who can help you and who is well connected, as these are too. I mean, if you take what you know and you put it with who you know, then you can deliver something to your clients, to your friends, to your family that nobody else can deliver.
Yeah, it's extra, definitely extra. And like Jean's story was a story about doing the extra. Jean, what Sandra just said leads me to my next question is, what do you want your legacy to be? Because, you know, we're all in our later years of our career, not the beginning years. But before we talk about, I think part of your legacy, Jean, is to talk about the work that you do with the armed services. So, you know, it's pretty extraordinary. Would you just, you know, share with us what you'd like to share?
Well, I was an Army brat, proud Army brat, and I married to a Vietnam vet, and so the patriotic came with, you know, has been instilled in me all my life. After Vietnam, he got out of the military and we made our home in Central Texas, but right there is the military. I went to that town when he was in Vietnam, and the people in the town would come by and check off the calendar with me. So these are the people that I've been around with a lot. And they are the most patriotic, more loving people you could ever have. They've got your back at all times. And when you build a community with them, you become a family. And today I am still working and communicating with the children of those I sold houses to in 81, 82, and 83. And I'm with their children and now welcoming their grandchildren in there. But getting to know them and what's important to them. And I'm very fortunate to be asked by the Secretary of the Army to be a civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, which opened a lot of doors to me, which I'd always done Central Texas. And of course, my soldiers go all over the world and their families, but it opened up the world of being other people in the country reading them and getting them to support the military because they really want to. Because if you look at it, the military is your brother, your sister, your cousin, your mother, your father, all this, and we're just one family. And for me is to make, as a military child, to make their family welcome there. You're going to love this school because.
Let me ask you, what did you, as the civilian aide to the
Secretary of the Army.
Army, which is a big deal. I mean,
Big deal.
Big
Like
deal.
being a 3-star general.
Yeah. What did you learn from that position that you didn't know before prior to it?
My job was to read the community, to read the American people, to listen to what they think about the military, their impressions, and feed that back to the government, to the Washington. And then also to educate the civilians about the military's purpose and what was going on. And we went through Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I've worked with them through the past wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And it's very important to let that civilian community know what's going on and why it's going on, but also let the Pentagon know what the American people are feeling. And we've had I've been to hundreds of funerals. I have cleaned houses of people I don't know. Well, one lady that I heard that the minute she got the phone call, she left. I went in that house. Their company gave me the key, the commander did, knowing me personally, and I cleaned the house. And I had to do it myself. I couldn't hire someone to do it. I had to do it. But that makes you connected with them and giving back to them, because that could have been your brother that was killed.
If you want to come clean my house, you're welcome to.
I scrub very well. But, it brings the two worlds in connection. And then I've started a foundation. It's called, the DBA is Wreaths for Vets. So I have a veteran cemetery I've adopted. And from the first year of 300 and something graves to we'll do about 17,000 this year.
Wow.
We're doing wreaths for everyone, for every grave, no matter what, and raising the money. And I'll have 6,000 volunteers come and help. And it is amazing. Some people fly in. It's the weekend after Thanksgiving to be able to be there. They're visiting their family. They extend their visit so they can do that. I've started another one where we are honoring high school kids that the minute they graduate from high school, they're going into the military. That's a big deal. They're putting their life on the line for us. And they're learning. And at the same time, they're also learning the ability and earning a college degree if they so choose, or lots of abilities to go into mechanics if they want, to be a veterinarian if they want, to do everything. But these kids are writing a check saying, I will go wherever you send me.
Yes.
Awesome.
And that's a bigger deal than going to college. So we make sure they're honored in front of their school and parents and, hundreds of people with special coins and certificates and stuff.
I want to speak for Sandra and Alexis and myself. We're all very proud of the work that you've done.
Thank you.
Well, my community does it with me, so we do it together, side by side, shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, but it takes that light to start it. And,
I
and
take
you're
that to
definitely
God.
light. Yeah, agreed.
Every step I've ever made in my life has been God-led, and it just happens, and it happens in a moment's time when I make those decisions. It's kind of scary.
No, that's very powerful. Sandra, what do you want your legacy to be?
May I tell you a little story?
Please. I love your
It
stories.
leads up to the answer to your question. My husband, when he was a young airman, was assigned to Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, from Okinawa. And I was raised in the Midwest. And when I learned I was moving to Alabama, I was a little frightened, quite frankly, because I hadn't learned very nice things about the South and the people in the South. And we do have our problems. I won't deny that for a moment. We moved to Montgomery, and I was so fortunate in that the first apartment we could afford off base was in the center of the city in a neighborhood called Cloverdale. And I fell in love with it. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Afforded an apartment there, but could not begin to afford a house there. But that's how I fell in love with the territory that I now call my own as a realtor. When I got my real estate license, my broker, whom I adore, he taught me so much good stuff, sat me down and said, okay, you are going to need to focus on a farm because you don't really know many people in town, which I didn't. You don't have a ton of money to throw at marketing, so you're just going to have to develop a farm. And I said, I know what I want to do. I want to work the Cloverdale area. And he said, being a lifelong Montgomeryan, Sandra, you can't do that.
Ooh.
And I said,
Uh-oh.
why not?
Uh-oh.
Wrong thing for Sandra.
And he said, Cloverdale is changing. That's Southern for integrating. And I looked at him and I said, I'll be damned if that's going to make a difference. Because I felt like that was probably a good thing. So that's one of the reasons I have focused so heavily on the Central Core. And my legacy, it already exists. I don't screw it up between now and the time I die, is that my part of town is the most integrated part of the city. We have young, old, black, white, rich, poor, gay, straight, and we all like it that way. We love one another. And it's becoming more and more and more desirable as a place to live over some of the hot new areas.
That's a great
my
legacy, honey. That's a great
And I
legacy.
receive thank yous periodically.
I got
about
tears
that.
in my eyes. That's really
Yeah.
beautiful.
One of the things I want to say about Sandra, because I've been there, right? Go up and visit Sandra. We used to do a Price It Right day with her team once a
Yeah.
year. Is
Thank you.
She is so involved, as Jean is, and as I try to be, in the community. I mean, she's collecting coats in the wintertime. She's doing a food drive. She's doing something for the Hysterical Society because they are hysterical about historical. And she is so involved in that community that she makes such a difference to the whole community by the things that she does, not just the fact that she lives and works there. And to me, that's as much as important a part of your legacy as the fact that you came there in the beginning when it was changing, but because of you, it's changed for the better.
Amen.
And
Amen.
Everybody there works together, cooperates. It's just wonderful to see how they work.
And what's your legacy that you would like?
Patrick Dart, if I know.
I know.
Honestly, I feel the same way.
Yes.
That's
She's taught all of us.
My answer, leaning forward and my cameraman's getting pissed off at me. My feeling is the legacy is for others to decide, not for me. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Well, I mean, look, my husband, who we all know passed away a year ago, I always said to him, we were talking about, okay, where we're going to be buried, you have to do that when you're old people. And I said, look, I want you to put 2 things on that headstone for me, which I can't have now because it's going to be in a military
Oh,
cemetery.
military.
At any rate, because we're all
We're all
military here.
equal. We all do that.
Was, that I made a difference in somebody else's life. Right.
You certainly have.
And that's the only legacy you've got, is what you've been able to do to help somebody else. Legacy's not having your name on a multi-million-dollar building somewhere. That to me is not a legacy. I don't have the multi-million anyway. I can't buy a wing for the hospital. But to me, that's the legacy. And the other one is I did it my way. So to me, again, my legacy is to not only give back to my community, I want to be helpful to my fellow agents. I want the agents to look at me and say, by God, if she can do it, I can. If somebody can come from nothing, be a single mom working 3 waitress jobs for $1 an hour plus tips, no child support, no alimony. Moved to a town in Pensacola where I didn't know a single soul, and knock on 50 doors a day to get started. I want them to be able to look at me and say, well, geez, my God, if she can do that, I certainly can do that myself. And that's what I want my legacy to be. The other thing is we've established a scholarship at our local college, and we established it in honor of my mother and my grandmother, who both were single parents. And I was a single parent. And the scholarship goes to the child of a single parent or a single parent. And so to me, that's a legacy that we leave as a family to help others. So if I had to say anything about legacy, it's passing on what you know to others so they can improve their status in life one way or another.
That's great. Well said.
So thank you, ladies. I think you can see why I love all 3 of them so much. They're 3 amazing women. I'm so happy that you've been mentors to me and friends to me and put up with me every once in a while. And I'm really, really grateful. And I'm so happy that others can see this is what your life can be. And, put in the work. Thank you.
I think the difference, Patrick, is that we all give to each other. We're available.
Yeah.
If any of your audience needs help, any one of us is more than willing to help. I don't mind giving people my personal cell phone number.
Right.
Because if you need help, I want to help you. And I think that's the big difference, is being with a group of people where you're not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Because when you get to the point where you think you're the hottest thing going, then you have an issue.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that you never be the sharpest knife in the drawer, that you can learn from somebody else. And, I'm sorry, I've said too much.
Nobody ever said you were short on words.
That's true.
At any rate, thank you, ladies.
Well, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
It's fun.
I love those 3 ladies so much. I hope you did too. And as always, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next month.